And we are here again. Now, we will go ahead and say head over skull. I'm naming them because it's easy. Then this will be skull. And then we will do another sphere. In my opinion, in my experience, it's always best to start from a sphere to make whatever head you want to make because it's cooler. Now, this head seems like a good place to start. It's very kind of nothing too much, but it will help us. And here we can see this is again from no, this is from Anatomy Next, the artist platform, okay? But it looks very cool because we can see around here how is the skull, but always take these images with a grain of salt because this is artist representation. It's not a real skull under a real guy. It's a real guy, but this is not his skull. This is a 3D skull put under it and kind of fitted into it. So, but overall, it seems like it's a good presentation. Of course, you see the whole of the ear is here, and probably it comes away here. It's fine. It's cool. The eyeball, it should be this big and sits around the top of the eye socket, probably. This is the cheekbone here. These are the teeth going here, and the lips. And you can see the middle of the lips is around the middle between the front and bottom teeth, which is cool. By the way, let's make a little bit of exercise. It will be very cool. Just, I will try to do it fast. So the skull, I will turn on the skull and the other, and let's try to make our head over skull. Let's duplicate it. Head over skull 01, and let's try to make him smile as I did in one of my courses. So, smiling is moving most of the time the mouth onto the skull, around the skull. So, yeah, I'm moving it like this. Of course, it seems a little bit odd, but I'm moving it a little bit more onto the teeth. And then you have to acknowledge that when you are smiling, your lips are smashed, so we have to push them. They're smashed onto the teeth. That's why, you know, they go like this. And of course, it's our skull is not perfect, but we should be able to do it. Okay. It takes a bit of time, of course, and both lips are smashed when we smile, so be careful. Also here we will have this kind of things going on a little bit. Yeah, this experiment could not end well, but we'll see. I will push this also back because I told you, smiling, the lips are smashed. They cannot stay in the same shape that they are before that with smiling. And of course, this course is not about the not about faces or face things that you make with face expressions. It's not about expressions, but I'm just want to do it just for simple interesting thing. I will push this area in because it's stretched, and we will have this kind of area like this. And the lips, of course, have to go a little bit up, but in our case the teeth are a little bit more down. But of course I can move the lips up, and we will see what will happen. Yeah, it's too much, this smile. Probably a little bit less, and here not so much. Yeah, he will eventually start to look kind of okay. For now it looks awkward and odd because I have to smooth this teeth a bit. They are never looking that kind of pronounced, so I will flatten them even a little bit. And you see, it's starting to look, of course, when we smile like this, the nose is also moving, the nostrils are moving a little bit up. And here, on the top, we will have smashing because some of the tissues from below are gonna kind of bulge and smash a bit the other tissues. Okay. Overall, it will look good at some point when we do everything. The eyes has to close a little bit. Here we will have some things. We'll have some wrinkles in this area. And you see now it's starting to look a little bit not so artificial when we make all those things. Okay, yeah, let's name this head over skull smile, and we can change between them. Just smiling guy. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's cool. It's cool. Let's continue with our sphere and try to make this particular head. Because it has nice planes and also has nice planes just above the eyebrows, which is very, very important here. In some of the others, I don't think they have, yeah, here you don't have these planes above the eyebrows. You just have the flat and then flat, which I think is very important. And if you are doing this, which is great for overall shapes, but this one is definitely better because of this here in the eyebrows, because you have this kind of thing and it's cool. So let's do this. First we pull this down. I have to select the sphere first, of course. We pull this down. We always do the neck. As you can see, all those heads have necks, and it's for a reason, because it looks better with the neck. Without the neck it's not look good. It's always is connected with the neck, and I always do the neck. Of course, sometimes if you do a model for a video game or something, it's better to the neck to be a separate object and keep it separate, keep them separated. Dun, dun, dun. But in this case, we don't need to do this. We don't need to make it separate. So I will Control R to bump the resolution a little bit and to make sure I don't have this kind of a very stretched polygons. And we continue. So you see the traps, they're mostly on the back. That's why I'm moving them from the back, and from the front I'm pushing the neck down. And the neck, most of the time, I don't know if I show you, but it looks like this. Like this. And then here we'll have this. And here we might have a little bit more pronounced this area, but don't make it too deep between those, because this is one muscle. This is still one muscle. This is the sternocleidomastoid muscle. This and this, the whole thing. And here you have the Adam apple of the male. Of the female, usually you don't have it, but it depends if it's a biological male, female or not. So there is a little bit of, you don't know. Especially in Thailand, but whatever. I was in Thailand, by the way, I know what I'm talking about. Symmetrize, okay. Now, from the top view, you always want to flatten the front part a little bit, so you have this kind of egg shape. Let me show you the egg shape of the skull. So you see, egg shape, wider around the ears and narrower around the front. Here, narrower around the front and wider on the back. These are very good. They are rare images. You don't see those images too much in the internet, but I found them just to be able to show on the real person that we have to have this kind of thing. Maybe the head should be a little bit longer, but not too much. Yeah, a little bit longer is cool. So from the side view, how the head looks is mostly decided, especially this upper part, from the skull. And if you see, for example, if you see this is not exactly a good thing. So you see, this is amazing 3D, but probably they are working from scan. And how the scan is done is they're taking the female, and they're putting some kind of net over her hair, and then when they scan her, they are doing stuff over on the scan. But if the guy didn't know the exact shape of the skull, and he's not very familiar with the shape of the skull, most of the time it ends up with something that's a little bit like alien. because this skull is a little bit too big, a little bit too inflated. Overall, it needs to look more like, let me see if I can find it, more like this. This doesn't look inflated at all. This looks right. And that's how the skull looks. And when you are making sure you have references for female skull, which is difficult because you have to find exactly this, you have to find pictures of women without hair. If you try to find scans of women, you will end up with something like this, which is a little bit more inflated because of this net that they are putting over their hair, because they have hair. And overall, if you follow the skull shape and the skull proportions, you should be okay. You know, that's a little bit of lyrical announce again. And now, let's continue with our skull. So for the male, for the female, it's a little bit more like this. For the male, it's a little bit more aerodynamical. So let's make it aerodynamical, because still we are making a male. This looks like a male, so we're making... When you are using references, it's very important. Listen to me. The most time you spend on your model should be on the same kind of a side as your reference. For example, now I will do my model mostly from this position, not from here, not from the front, but I will do it mostly from here. Of course, I will go from the front and from the side view just to see what is happening, but mostly I will work from here, because I have the I have my model and I have it from this side. This is my reference, the reference I have here. So here I will push to separate the forehead from the face part, and I will pull it a little bit also, because I want to make just roughly this kind of things that are there. Then I will push to kind of make the eye socket, the socket of the eye. Then I will control tab twice, because it started to lag. Sometimes it's just starting to lag and a label appears of alt and stuff around the mouse. You just have to alt and tab twice and you will be okay. Now I will make the nose like this. I don't care about the shape yet, because I'm just making the forms, and since I don't have too much resolution, I'm just making the forms. Then I will push this, make sure I have the shape of the chin. You see how I'm digging just below here, the front part, and I have the shape of the chin. Now what I will do, I will flatten those areas, those sides out. I will flatten them, and it's important. You will see. Then I will do the muzzle of the mouth, just this kind of a spherical shape here on the front, this overall shape. It's cool to make it. Then I will make the ears. I was to say the ears of the mouth, but they are not exactly of the mouth, so it's not. Ears are very important. Don't make them like this drawing, because this is a drawing. Don't make them like this. Always make them away from the skull, a little bit like this. And yeah, we will not leave them like this, but for now they will be like this, and from the back they will kind of go in like that. And you see, yeah, don't make them connected to the skull, because they are not. If you see your ear, you can catch it, because it's like some separate thing. You can even make a separate object and put them and then connect them with the head. And again, from the front view, you see, don't make this mistake. Just push this inner part here and pull the skull, the cheekbone a little bit out. Make sure your ear is going in and your cheekbone is going out. Otherwise, you will have problems. And also, this point below the cheekbone also out. Not too much though. And then, of course, the ears can go a little bit closer to the head. But once you extract them away from the head, and then just push them in a little bit. But then they will be separated shapes almost, which is great, which is what we seek. And we will have ears. Let's see from the side view. Those ears can go a little bit back, because from the middle point outward, from the middle point back will be the ears. Very important stuff. And see, I am saying some of the stuff a lot of times, and I'm repeating it because it's very important. Those things are important, and I know that from one repetition you will not be able to remember them, but from few repetitions I'm almost sure it will be it will kind of stuck. Of course, I don't expect you to make perfect heads, because even I'm not making perfect heads, but uh, these are the exercises you have to do day and day for hours and hours. And in my experience and the experience that I've seen, it will take you, if you want to master the head, it will take you doing those exercises and exercises from real people at some point, around 2000 hours of sculpting, which usually can take a year or more, in order to reach a certain nice level. I've seen people who are trying it, but probably they're not putting enough time. They're not doing the right exercises or stuff like this, and they are like for 2 years they're improving a little bit, but staying almost in the same level. They're not improving too much, because you have to improve. You have to always seek perfection. Not exactly perfection, because you will never be able to really do a perfect head, probably. Especially, for example, now even I cannot do a perfect head. Now I'm doing the planes here, but I'm doing a decent enough head, so I'm okay with that. So yeah, perfectionism, seeking it, probably it's not a very good idea, but you have to at least try to improve always by little. Each next head you do has to be better than the previous one, and you have to put a little bit more time even in the beginning to make it, and suddenly you will start to develop your skills of making heads, and it will be easier for you. But the head is, we may say, it's one of the most complex things you can model. There are a lot of things to remember, a lot of variety in different people. You can learn, for example, to make one type of guy or a girl, and but if you have to sculpt another one, it will be difficult for you because you don't know how. Of course, you know the basics, and that's very important to know the basics. That's why I'm doing exercise. I'm doing this head for 2 hours, for example. For you, it can take more because I'm very fast in sculpting. So, doing this head for 4 hours or 5 hours. Then I'm doing this head. Just try to do it. Probably you will not be able to because it's only profile view. You don't know how this head looks from front view. Although I think we have it here. Yeah. So we have it front view and 3/4 and a little bit profile, which is not complete profile, by the way. You see the other eyebrow, when we see it, it's not complete profile. We have to be careful about that when we are seeking for images which are complete profile. This is complete profile, which is great, but this is a drawing. This is not a complete profile. We see the other eyebrow. If it's complete profile, you cannot see the other eyebrow. That's why the ear seems too much backwards here, because it's not complete profile. If we turn this head a little bit more profilish, so we don't see this eyebrow, then this ear will stay exactly where it should be. That you have to be careful. This guy, complete profile, by the way, we don't see the other eyebrow. It's very cool, and the ear is starting from the middle point of the skull. Very good, very nice. This, of course, Henry Cavill, not complete profile. We see his other eyebrow, a little bit of his other chin. He has two chins, and not complete profile. So the ear seems to be very much back, and you can make it the mistake in your mind to think that the ear is very much backwards. Like here, for example, you see, oh, the ear is so much back, but this is not complete profile. We see the other eyebrow, even the other eyelash we see. So it's not a complete profile of Natalie Portman. This one is mostly a profile, and it's pretty cool. And we see the ear is starting from the middle point of the skull, almost, maybe a little bit backwards here, but we cannot exactly judge by this fighter because I don't remember the name of this guy, although I follow those MMA fights. But it's an old-time fighter. It's a very, very famous guy, but I don't know. So be careful about those things. This is from Anatomy for Sculptures. These are some proportions of the face, but they're very, very poorly drawn, as you can see. this is very poorly drawn and it doesn't look very nice, and the jaw is like a sphere, which is never good. For example, what we do is we do this from the front view. I'm trying the jaw to be angular, so what I'm trying is the jaw to look like flat, 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 then flat and flat. You see, this kind of jaw I'm trying to do. And then this is your nose, basic, fine. These are your eyebrows, and the mouth will be around this area. And the eyes, something like this. As I told you, the male eyes can look a little bit squarish on the top. And the bottom, when we're drawing it, we can even not draw the bottom, because all the shadows and stuff are casted from the top. And then we can just do this. And just a little bit of a bottom here. And then the top lip. And a little bit below the bottom lip here, like this. And the nose. And of course, these lines, as I told you. And here flat, here flat. Yeah, it's cool. It's very cool. I'm drawing. It's very cool, but we have to do this planes of the head. Let's go. I am making this kind of, you know, lyrical announces. I'm not sure if it's the right term, but just deviating from the main thing that I'm doing right now, just to show you something that I think it's important, and then we come back to this one. So for the eye, we'll make just a little bump. We can make it with inflate brush a little bit like this, and then we will move it into position a little bit more up. We don't want the eyes to be very close to the nostrils, you know, because they are not. Most of the time they are a little bit away, but we don't want to make them too much away. Although a little bit more away is better than very close to them, because you see, it's like, no. So yeah, we'll see. And we don't have too much geometry now. I would say we don't need it. For example, we can go and pinch this area, pinch this area, pinch here. And this, by the way, is a little bit strange, because this will have to go back like this. In the model, it doesn't look it's back, it's down, but it should be back. It should be backwards, this line in here. Because this line is for our chewing muscle, which muscle, if we say that this is our cheekbone in here, this is our orbit of the eye, around like this, and this is our cheekbone, the front part of the cheekbone, this is our nose hole in here, and the cheekbone is here. This is our jaw, you see, and I basically draw you a skull, but whatever. So this is our jaw. So the chewing muscle is coming from the side here, it's connecting around here, and it's going and attaching to the jaw, but in this kind of angle, which is kind of the same as the angle from here to here. So angle and the same angle here. So we can make a one line like this, you know, which is covering the eyebrow, the cheekbone overall, you know, plane, and then continue to this muscle in here, which is basically this. But in this case, since this is a drawing and the guy didn't exactly get it, it should be more like this. But of course, it doesn't matter that much, but I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm making myself look more knowledgeable this way, you know. That's what I'm doing. Don't worry. I mean, it's cool. It makes me look super knowledgeable and so much better than those guys who are drawing stuff on the internet, because you see, you have to be very careful about those things who are man-made. This is man-made. This is man-made. This is man-made. So we take everything. This is man-made, but it looks very good with Seong Kim. Very nice looking head. We have to do one like this. As an exercise, of course, it will be fine. So we have to take everything with a grain of salt, which means that we have to be careful. We have to do it. We have to think, okay, these lines, these places, these fat pads and stuff. But then we have to always look at real references, or references of things that looks amazingly nice, like this one. This one is from a Bulgarian sculptor. He is not a digital sculptor, he is only traditional one. His name is Lubomir Grigorov. It's amazing. Also, this one is from him, and I put them here because they are very, very, very good, and it's good to look from those. This is from, I think, from a girl, a Russian girl or Ukrainian, I'm not sure, but it's also very nice. We see a lot of forms. We see it from the side view, the same from the front, and the same from 3/4. It's very, very cool, and it can help us a lot in sculpting. We can do an exercise from this head too. And I will tell you when we get to that who is the artist, because we have to mention the artists. It's more polite this way. Now, I think we are in the position of the skull that we can definitely increase the resolution because we have the main forms. Everything looks good from all sides. We maybe can just increase the resolution. Shift R, increase it like at least 3 times, and Control R. And now we can smooth some areas very lightly. In Blender you have to smooth very lightly because otherwise you will lose everything. You'll lose yourself. You will lose your house, your wife. You will lose everything if you smooth very harshly in Blender. So you have to be very, very careful. I will increase this because from the side view, I want this to look like this. Like this, this, and this. And this is a bottom plane in here, as you can see. And it's coming in the bottom. But it looks from the side view like it's flat, and then here is the jaw. Make sure you do that. Make sure you do all the things that I say. Even pause, do them, and then continue. And at some point, your head will look very much better. Of course, you will probably not remember those things when you're doing the next head. So the next head could look worse. But if you kind of practice and practice and practice, you will remember more and more things. So I'm doing 1 head in here. You do 5. Why not? If you want to do better, you have to. So now, as you can see, let's make this, which is the orbit of the eye. But be careful. Don't make... the orbit of the eye always, the bottom part here, should be always below and backwards of the top part, of course. Of course, the top part is on the top. That's, not debatable. But this bottom part should be backwards. So this one is here, and this one is kind of going backwards here. And then we have the cheekbone, and then we have the chewing muscle in here. Okay, amazing. We have to be careful about those angles, because if we mess them up, everything goes to hell. That's completely. So I will now try to sculpt this top part. Of course, this is not exactly like this. Most of the time, this is more like smooth in here. It's not sharp as here, so I will make it a little bit smoother. I don't want to make it as sharp as there, although it's a good idea to sometimes sculpt the exact reference. I usually don't do this. Because I know some stuff is not exactly like the reference, and especially this reference is an example of not a completely good and best reference, but I think it's very useful, although we have to take some things with grain of salt. And you will say, but Nico, why are you doing this? Why are you making us do this, since this is not a complete cool? Because we have to understand that some things can be a little bit not so, true, and not so like the concept or your reference, but it's still useful to do this. It's still useful, and that's why we're doing it, because this is a very nice head from planes, which can teach us a lot. For example, it can teach us that this point here, and we are going like, oops, let's do the mouth, and the mouth is going backward, and we have this kind of sideways, even almost plane in here. We can, there are different types of people. Some can have more of this and more of that. Some can have less than this and stuff like this. It's nothing is written completely in stone except for some things, which are. But the mouth in some people can be a little bit more up, in some people can be a little bit more down. It depends on the guy you are making, the overall thing. Now here I will pinch this to make a sharp corner with the pinch brush. It's both in Blender and in ZBrush, the same brush. It's called pinch. It's very easy. Of course, if you are doing this in Nomad Sculpt, which is completely possible, I think the pinch brush is also there, so don't worry. I have used Nomad Sculpt, I have used ZBrush a lot. I mean, much more I have used ZBrush than Blender, but now I'm using Blender. And if you ask why, you probably will find the answer on my YouTube channel or in my Discord server. And you probably are there already, so it's cool. Let's make this kind of things here. As I told you, in the skull you don't have this kind of meat in here, but because you don't have meat in the skull at all, but whatever. So yeah, here we will have some a little bit complex shapes, but overall orbit of the eye. Then we have a plane in here, then we have another plane in here, according to this concept, which I'm not completely convinced about this concept, but still, we're doing it nonetheless, basically. Now here, those are very, very cool because they are showing that this can be a little bit inflated, this area in here. That's why you see the shading here is darker, because it's kind of in and then it's going out. And here we see a little bit of this position. But what I will do here is a little bit more different. I will add the cheekbone a little bit more, and then I will push the area above the cheekbone, so we will get mostly something like this. Because here, this area around the eye socket and the cheekbone is not very well put. In my opinion, it should be something like this. The eye socket, okay, but the cheekbone has to come out of it a little bit. So yeah, this is just, you know, just one of those practical sculpts that you have to do a lot of them just to understand better some forms. And each of those sculpts will give you a little bit more of understanding of the shapes, of the planes, which is very important. And then when you know those planes, you at some point will start to do them kind of easy from top of your head without too much of an issue. But in the beginning, it will definitely be a challenge, but a challenge that you have to accept, because otherwise you will never learn. It takes a lot of practice. I told you, this course is like a couple of exercises with also some beginner mistakes, reviews and feedbacks, which is okay, which is completely fine, but it will not be enough to just finish this course and say, okay, now I'm ready, I'm the best. A lot of exercises, a lot of hours put into this will have to do. Also, this line from the nose, from the top of the nostril to the side of the mouth is almost never to the side of the mouth. It's always kind of some meat between the side of the mouth and this line, which it's kind of visible in here, but people can interpret it in the way that this is completely kind of touching the corner of the mouth, which is not. We should be careful about that though. So there are a lot of things that we should be careful about in this particular subject, but it's okay. We can just leave it like this and do another exercise. It's always to do an exercise, because even this, which is flawed in some areas, can give you some knowledge of some areas, which is that's why I put it here, because it's because of the eyebrow ridges, mostly because it's very, very nice like this. It's looking very cool. Those ridges, I like them a lot on this particular concept, we may say. Yeah, it's looking very, very awkward. I may want to decrease the size here, kind of push the ears in and flatten them a bit. And maybe the jaw, I can make it smaller, and the neck, I can make it also smaller, because the neck, it depends on your character. If it's a very hugely big guy, like Hulk or something, yeah, it can have a very, very huge neck. But if it's a normal guy, just a regular normal guy, a kung fu guy, for example, shouldn't have a huge neck. Also here I will need to make this kind of a fat pads that I talked about, because without them it looks pretty awkward. Now it doesn't look much less awkward, but I think it's a bit better. Maybe the ear is a little bit too much back, but it's fine. And the ear is almost always a little bit tilted backwards, so it's not flat, but it's tilted. It's going like backwards. It's falling backwards, we may say. Okay, let's finish this. This was a kind of cool exercise. Nothing too much, nothing too good. Here I would add a little bit of this, as we talked about, and maybe a little bit like this. Yeah, it's a little bit long. Maybe the nose is a bit too short. It doesn't look super, super cool, in my opinion. Although from the side view, it looks kind of cool. But I'm not ultra happy, I may say, of this result that we did here. That's why we will continue with something more interesting, like this guy. This is from Seong Kim, and in the next video we will try to do him.